Welcome back to the Deep Dig Sports Pod. I'm your host, Drew. We're talking everything NFL. My other host right over there.
What's up? It's D. Good to see you again. Be sure to hit that like button, drop some comments below, but more importantly, subscribe, baby.
Yeah, and we both still have a job here, but someone who might not have a job pretty soon. Rumors spiraling a little bit that Jerod Mayo could get fired in the next coming days. They went to London to play Jacksonville, got embarrassed, basically saved Doug Peterson's job. Could this really be happening?
I don't I don't know. I don't think that this is coming out of nowhere though, because I mean, after the game, Jerod Mayo called out his team very publicly to the media, saying that they were a soft team. And this is kind of uncharted territory for the Patriots organization, really. I mean, they've had a bunch of stability with Bill Belichick, and I think they're seeing like things are going off the rails. And they already had a damn near mutiny apparently with them not playing Drake May immediately and them sitting down Jerod Mayo and saying, like, what are we doing here? We need to have our best chance to win. And we had talked about that last week and saying, like, that's just shit that never would fly in Belichick's day. And it's not coming from a source that like I don't necessarily believe this is coming from Kirk Minihan of like the Kirk Minihan show, who's really locked into Boston. So I think where there's smoke, there's fire. I just don't know if they are going to actually fire him in the next coming days.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about him potentially losing the locker room earlier in the year with the whole quarterback situation. How do you keep the locker room when you call the entire team soft when the defense actually is putting up fights? It's not like they're giving up. I didn't think that they were soft. I thought they're just don't have the talent on offense and they're not scheming up enough to make up for that talent difference.
I don't, and you're a defensive guy, so it's like I feel like that should be the strength of the team. Unfortunately, you've got some pieces there. You're a defensive head coach. You should be on. I think realistically, if anything, that should be something that you tell the team directly to their face. Hey, you know what? We played soft. We played like shit today. We have our chance next week to go out there and get ours, but you
And
didn't. Like
if
I
your
don't.
team is soft, isn't that like a direct reflection on the defensive coach? Like he should be the one in there setting the tone. And it's almost like who's the coach? Was it Doug Peterson that was like, we need a culture change here? And it's like
Yeah,
you're the culture. Like change it then, or you get your ass out. I just think it's crazy for him to be just so blatant with it to the public. And we were saying, could he be one and done? I didn't think it was possible because they're committing. This is their guy. They've been grooming him for a long time. But 1-6, team don't like you. Drake May seems like he has something there. Do you get an offensive coach in here? And I mean, Ben Johnson should be available this coming off season. Do you get an offensive guy and really start the rebuild?
again, it's so hard for me to see them switch coaches though this fast to just pull the trigger on it. But if it's not working, it's not working. I think we've seen that. Like, I think it's better to pull the trigger quicker than to let it play out. And now you're in a Jerry Jones situation where you have Mike McCarthy and you know he can't get over the hump, but it's just like, all right, well, I'm comfortable with it. Let's just keep plugging away. And now you have a team that just sucks.
I mean, maybe
And I think
Belichick could be available, come back and coach.
100% no. 100%. You know who's a guy that I'm like, okay, I don't want to see you as a head coach, but I think what you've put so far on the field this year, you're probably going to get a head coaching spot, and I think New England might be a pretty good, spot for him. Cliff Kingsbury, because you did it with Jaden Daniels, and then you go out there and Jaden Daniels gets hurt, and the offense still looks good, and you lead it with Marcus Mariota. I mean, Cliff Kingsbury, and he's been a head coach before. He's taken his time off. He went to Thailand. He's come back, and he's done nothing but great things as the OC for this Washington Commanders team. I could see that being a good matchup with him and Drake May.
Well, let's talk about the Commanders right now because this past week they played the Panthers, embarrassed them 40-7. They're 5-2. Jaden Daniels, it's looking like he's not going to play this coming week. Marcus Mariota looked really good in that game. They are potentially going to win this division right now. And Cliff Kingsbury seems like a big part of that with this offense with Jaden Daniels and Marcus Mariota. I don't know if he gets head coach buzz off of this because of his track record. He hasn't been amazing as a head coach. But if you win this division, win a playoff game with Jaden Daniels, yeah, I think you should deserve that head coach buzz.
Yeah, again, it's a guy I don't love as a head coach, but I think he's found his perfect match as an OC. He doesn't have to worry about the defense. He doesn't have to worry about anything else, just scheming up good plays. And then he has an excellent quarterback to go out there and execute. And if I'm the Commanders, I'm sitting Jaden Daniels this week because why go out and risk it? I mean, we know what Jaden Daniels is, but you don't want to put his future at risk. And this is a Bears defense that is actually very tough. I mean, they go out there and they get after it. And so, do you want to put him out there if he's not 100%? And I know guys get dinged up all the time. They have cuts and bruises and little ouchies here and there. But this is his ribs. I'd be more cautious on Jaden Daniels than I would just let's say Will Levis.
I mean, they were cautious with Will Levis. They sat him. So
That's because he was ass.
yeah, they were saying it was weird how Will Levis got sat because his injury happened like a week and a half ago, and he was full participant in practice. And all of a sudden, he was out. I don't know. People re-aggravate things. I don't know what the reporting is on that, but yeah, this Commanders team. I don't know what their ceiling is this year, but I feel like they have basically all the pieces that could go into a good playoff run here. The running back situation is nice. The receiver, you obviously have Scary Terry. The other guys are stepping up and filling in the other roles. The defense is solid. I don't see Philadelphia challenging them, and I definitely don't see Dallas challenging them. So I think they're a lock. And can this team be a 1 or 2 seed? I don't know. It's tough with the Lions there, but I definitely could see them winning a first round playoff game.
I think making the playoffs and giving a strong showing in the playoffs would be fine for them, for this team, especially how like historically bad they've been in these past few years, the last decade. So let's walk before we could run. I think they are a playoff team. I mean, they're a good team in a bad division. So they should get into the playoffs. And it really just depends on the matchup that they get. If they pull a veteran gutsy team, let's say like I don't know, the 49ers smack them. You know what I mean? But
Well, actually, let's talk about the 49ers because they lost
fuck.
to the Chiefs. They have so many injuries riddled throughout. And I was about to say, I think if they pull the Niners, they could beat the Niners. And that's coming from a Niners fan here who's concerned with this roster structure this season. The thing about the 49ers, when we go on the super runs, one of the key components of those teams is health. They got lucky and stayed healthy in those Super Bowl years for the most part. And this is just a year where none of that is breaking their way. So many, but by the end of the season, you could potentially have Debo fully healthy, McCaffrey healthy, Dre Greenlaw maybe comes back, Ufunga healthy. So you start to get a lot of those pieces back and you could get hot at the end. But the way it's looking right now, I don't see it being a crazy situation where they lose to a team like Washington in the first round.
But yeah, I mean, you just said it. I mean, look how many injuries. I mean, just in the receiving core alone, Brandon Ayuk done for the season. Debo Samuels had to be hospitalized. Juwan Jennings was out. They had me, you, and a guy who's coming off a gunshot wound running routes. Like, you know what I mean? So it's kind of hard to beat the Super Bowl champion Chiefs when you don't have your lineup stacked. You're running with Jordan Mason, which by all means, Jordan Mason has been really good, but he's no Christian McCaffrey. And then you're banged up on the defensive side as well. So I think a lot of these problems that we're seeing will mitigate themselves as this team gets healthier down the stretch, but it's don't dig yourself a hole too deep that you can't get out of. And I think that's the danger of where we're at right now with the 49ers is once they do get healthy, are they going to be able to bounce back? You just can't dig yourself too deep. I mean, we'll see moving forward, but they already have losses to the majority of their own division. So that's again a tough hole to dig out of.
Yeah, and I believe they play Seattle next. You win that game, you're back in first place. Everything, it's your destiny. You control your own destiny from there on out. I think there's just problems with this team that probably don't get fixed this season. Like special teams is terrible. the D line just isn't there. And there's no one coming in to save the day for the defensive line to change that. The offensive line has been suspect, especially the right tackle position. Maybe John Feliciano comes back, put him in the right guard spot, and you kick Puny out to right tackle and see if he can handle it. But Purdy just doesn't have the line, and the red zone offense is struggling. But, you know, McCaffrey could come in and literally change this entire dynamic.
Yeah, 100%. And they don't have the Seahawks coming up. They have the it's Sunday night against the ass Cowboys. So
Oh, yeah, there we go.
that's a bounce back game right there, if anything. And but it could be, these are two desperate teams. They both need to win. They're both hungry for it, but hungry dog runs faster. Which one is going to be hungrier? Who's going to be able to get after it? This is a home game for the 49ers. So I feel pretty good about them going out there and getting the dub, but we've seen them drop late game leads before in this season. So
This is probably the
it's kind
perfect
of a
time to play
crapshoot.
the Cowboys, though. Like the Niners get up for Cowboys games, and they relish in beating the shit out of the Cowboys. So this is like the perfect down and out Cowboys team. Defense isn't looking great. The offense isn't producing. Let's get back into the rhythm with the 49ers offense. Let's put some touchdowns on the board, because it's not like they can't move the ball. It's just putting it in the end zone. So this could be the perfect week for them to put it all together.
Okay, and I've seen the criticism of Brock Purdy this past week. He was ass. I mean, he was just straight up. He had 3 picks. One of them was a game killer. It was a baby zone, right in the end zone. He throws it to nobody, just the Chiefs player. So, what were your thoughts on Brock Purdy? What are your thoughts on Brock Purdy moving forward? How we feeling?
I mean, it's hard to, yeah, you can shit on him for his performance in that game, but he's down to his fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh receivers on the roster. And yeah, a lot of those are on him. It's also on like timing with the guys you haven't really worked with. It's also on Kyle not putting together a great scheme. Like, let's get Kittle more involved. I think he had 7 targets. Get this guy like over 10 targets. Let's get the offense going. And then in the red zone, I don't know what happened to Kyle's magic, but the magic isn't there on the play calling. It doesn't feel creative. It doesn't feel like he's really doing what he was doing in the past, where like scheming things open, where it's catching the defense by surprise. I mean, and maybe it's just the coaching of the Chiefs. Spagnuolo like has Kyle's number, and he knows, he feels out what Kyle's gonna do. But I put this equally on Brock and equally on Kyle.
Yeah, and I just don't know moving forward, because this has been the problem for the San Francisco 49ers this entire season. They can't finish. They can't finish drives. They can't finish games. I don't know what needs to change in that locker room. Is it a Kyle thing where he's gone stale and you're hearing the same message over and over and over again? You try to make it to the top of the mountain, you get knocked down. How many times can you make it to the Super Bowl and get your ass kicked or just lose by barely a few plays here and there? Like, how many times can that actually happen to where you're still resilient and you're still able to listen to the same coach? I just don't know. And I think we're seeing like a little bit of that fatigue on this team. And so they're going to have to do something. They're going to have to light a fire somehow in order to save this season. But I mean, we're coming down to the stretch where you've got to win this game. Next after that, I believe they're taking on the Bucks. So
And
now's
the
the
thing with
time. We got to start picking it up.
the thing with the 49ers too, you can't deny that the scheme is different than what we've seen in the past offensively from the 49ers. They're not doing as much play action. They are Brock Purdy is holding the ball so much longer. And his main thing was make the reads, get the ball out. If not, get out of the pocket, make something happen, or throw it away. He is holding the ball so much longer. And I don't know if that's Kyle trying to dial up more downfield this season, if it's the receivers not being able to create separation, or if it's Brock feeling uncomfortable and holding the ball and not feeling like he can just let it rip. But it's something wrong with the way we're dialing up this. They're dialing up this offense. It's not the full Shanahan offense. Quickly, let's move, let's run the ball and get the ball out that we're used to seeing. And I think that's really been the main downfall of this offense in the red zone for sure.
Every quarterback is going to have games like this. Again, I think I've seen a lot of discourse online. They're like comparing it to Josh Allen, where Josh Allen, oh, well, Josh Allen doesn't have receivers, and look at what he does. Allen also had like 2 or 3 weeks ago a game where he completed 9 fucking passes. So it happens to the best of them, realistically. So I feel pretty good. I've seen what Brock Purdy can do. I know that I feel comfortable with it moving forward. Do I feel comfortable with it when he's going to be making a shit ton of money? I don't think so. You know what I mean? And then so that's like you have to make a decision on Brock Purdy this offseason. What are you gonna pay him, and how is that going to affect this roster construction? Because the 49ers do already have a lot of the top paid guys at their position.
Well, let's talk about the Chiefs a little bit because they just made a move today, getting DeAndre Hopkins in for a 5th round, potentially a 4th round pick, which is a steal, I think, to get their number one receiver on their team, who he's old. I'll give him that. Well, not as old as I expected, but he performs still really well. He's going to bring a lot to this offense, and I think he's the perfect guy to work with Mahomes. My only question is, why the fuck would the Titans let this happen? Why is any team trying to help the Chiefs right now? Why would anyone do this? Trade him to anywhere else and maybe get the same draft capital.
Yeah, you're telling me that someone else wouldn't be willing to give up a conditional 4th round pick? Like, that is stupid. The 49ers should have went and grabbed that. They have no receivers right now, so why wouldn't they go do it? Like, what world are we living in? Like, this is crazy. This is crazy, and the
It's
rich
annoying
only
that
get richer.
The Chiefs just keep winning keep losing guys and keep winning, and then you're like, okay, by the way, here's a receiver. I know you guys need
Yeah.
one. Like, why are you helping them? It's frustrating, but great move for the Chiefs. That's the wheeling and dealing of their front office is amazing right now.
Are we ready to, like, crown them champions? Like, is this it?
I
Are they
think
gonna
the
go
league is ready.
undefeated this year? And are they just gonna win the Super Bowl, like, and have a perfect season?
Do you see? They were saying they feel bad for DeAndre Hopkins because he goes from a bad quarterback situation to a quarterback with 8 interceptions this year. So
Yeah.
yeah, going from one bad quarterback to another. I hope D Hops
Yep.
can get through it.
I know.
But
Prayers
that's the
up.
thing. Mahomes isn't even playing that great this season, but they just keep winning. And I think that's the culture about them where they've shifted from offense to a defensive team. And that's why it doesn't matter who they're putting at receiver. They're going to win these games.
Yeah, I mean, they play an ugly style of football like this season where they're fine with like, okay, we're gonna dink and dunk, we're going to run the ball, and then we're gonna play solid defense and we're gonna play like field position. And we're gonna suffocate you on defense and make sure that you make mistakes and we'll capitalize on it.
Yeah.
And
I
I
think
don't this is so shitty. I think they're gonna go under. I know they are gonna drop one eventually, but they should have dropped a game already. They have not played their A game. They're only gonna get better down the stretch. Do you think they're gonna go undefeated?
I don't think they go undefeated because they definitely look beatable, but it's something about the Chiefs where they always feel beatable and they still win. Like even in the playoffs and in the Super, like you're like, okay, well Patrick Mahomes has thrown 2 interceptions. He's not looking that great, and then somehow they just come out on top. And I think that's why there's that narrative of, oh, the refs helped them out, because it doesn't feel like they're dominating. It feels like they're on the ropes like all the time, but they somehow come out on top. And I think that's just the coaching from Andy Reid. He's been in every situation. He knows how to handle it. They know how to play the clock and play the game. And Mahomes now is so comfortable. He's not going to force a highlight play. He's going to dunk his way and run the ball and figure it out and play defense. And it's just not exciting football anymore, but it's better football because they're winning.
Yeah, it's almost like the thing it reminds me of is George St. Pierre when in his peak where he was like went from this like guy who was like looking for highlight reel knockouts, who was going to use his wrestling and who was going to get finishes, to a guy who like just completely changed his game and was like, okay, all I'm going to do is jab my opponent to death and defend the takedown and jab, 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 and I'm going to get wins. And then if I do take them down, I'm just going to smother them. Like, but equally dominant, but also very, very ugly and just kind of hard to watch.
Yeah, and then you throw in that they're playing Taylor Swift songs on the outros, and they're thinking about this reality show of like the Kansas City Chief women, and you're just like, you're super fatigued of seeing Travis Kelsey and the Chiefs and all of it, but they keep winning, so you're just like, it keeps building more and more that you're seeing them still. So
And it's
I
only
could
gonna
see
get
the
worse throughout
frustration.
the season. They're gonna get better. They're gonna get better throughout the season. They're gonna play in bigger games, and we're gonna see more of that.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I would love to see someone else win the Super Bowl, but I feel like it's Chiefs. I feel like it's the Chiefs. A team who thought they were going to compete for a Super Bowl in the AFC, the Jets, get blown out by Russell Wilson and the Steelers. It was not even close. Najee looked good. Pickens went off in this game. Russell Wilson started off slow, got the ball rolling. I thought this was interesting because the whole first half, the commentators are like, "Oh my God, how can you defend this Jets offense with Devonte Adams? They can spread the ball out. Who do you double? How do you cover all of these weapons?" And it's like, guys, the Jets have 15 points. Like, calm down. It's not like this was this revolutionary change where they're the greatest show on turf. Is their season salvageable at 2-5, or is this as they had a better record with Zach Wilson at quarterback at this point in the season. And now Aaron Rodgers has a hamstring. Both his knees are banged up. His ankle's banged up. His shoulder, I believe, is banged up. Is this season salvageable for the Jets, or are we calling it a day?
I'm ready to call it a day. Like, I'm fucking tired. Like, speaking of fatigue, I'm so tired of talking about this shitty ass Jets team. Like, I don't know why they continuously have like just game after game that is standalone prime time. Like, I don't give a fuck about the Jets. The Jets suck ass.
Yeah, and
Like,
then Aaron Rodgers doesn't have anyone to blame anymore, and he's blaming the media. Oh, blame the coach. We're getting rid of the coach. Blame the receiver. We got you a new receiver. We lost. We looked terrible against the Steelers. It's the media's fault because we're listening to the media. Like, this guy has zero accountability, and he's running the show there. He's calling the shots, and we see he's a worse GM than he is a quarterback.
100%. And all this is his doing. Like, everything that's happened here has been a direct result of what Aaron Rodgers wants. And he could go out there and say, like, oh, I had nothing to do with it. I just had a talk with Woody Johnson and I was blindsided. No, you know where it came from. Like, so don't fucking bullshit us. Like, that's stupid. This is a direct result of Aaron Rodgers and what Aaron Rodgers wants. And it's just not working. Like, I don't think I don't think them getting Adams solved anything. And if anything, it's highlighting how bad Aaron Rodgers is playing this year. Like, he had Adams at one point on a deep route, just wide open, and he missed it. Like, he just didn't even look his way. Instead, he throws a pick. Like, I think we're seeing a regression from this offense. I think we're seeing a major regression from this defense. And I don't know if that's because Ulbrich has now, instead of running just the defense, he's taking over everything and it's just too many plates in the air that he can't really keep up. But this defense has taken a real step back on top of the offense continuing to be ass.
Yeah, and I think when you just see the names on the back of the jerseys for the Jets, I was like, "Oh, this is a lock. They're gonna easily beat the Steelers. They're better than that," and it's just not coming together. And I firing Sala, maybe there was a locker room thing, maybe there was a team chemistry thing, but it doesn't add anything when you take away the head coach and take away the defense coordinator from just solely focusing on the defensive play calling to now run the team. If anything, it's taking away from your team because now he's getting pulled in all kinds of different directions, and he's never been a head coach. It's not
Yeah.
like he's like done this for years and years. Like, he's figuring it out, and he's getting pulled away from defensive meetings, and your offense is struck. Like, nothing is going well for this team right now. In a situation where you have a veteran quarterback, where everything should be a smooth oiled machine, like it all should be running smoothly, and it's just not.
Yeah. And I mean, they have another what? So they have the Patriots this week, which I mean, they're a dumpster fire as well. It's two dumpster fires fighting each other. And then after that, they're playing on Halloween against the Houston Texans. I think they're getting smacked there.
If you lose to the Patriots this coming week, I don't know what you do because yeah, Patriots are dumpster fire right now, but maybe this is a game where Jerod Mayo could get a spark going. Drake May has looked good at times. Maybe he picks up a couple touchdowns against this Jet defense. I think they're a team that has shown fight in them, and they're not like completely terrible. Especially if this Jets team is making mistakes, Aaron Rodgers throwing interceptions, Garrett Wilson, a fucking pass bouncing off his chest for That's the other thing with Devontae Adams trade. How long is Garrett Wilson going to be happy? Because I get it, he's working well with Devontae, he looks up to Devontae, but you have so many mouths to feed on this offense now. When last year it was like Garrett Wilson is the guy.
Is
Everything
Garrett
is
Wilson like now? Is he just Jerry Jeudy? Is that it?
the disrespect. He's a Jag,
Yeah.
just another guy. I don't know. I don't know if I fully like the move for just Garrett Wilson in general. And then Mike Williams, I know he made a great catch on like a third down, but then immediately he's getting pulled off the field and you see him roll his eyes, put his head down. He knows he's not getting enough snaps. And I felt like they made a couple plays just to keep him happy. Be like, no, you were involved. But he's clearly frustrated that he's not on the field as much as he was expecting to be because Aaron Rodgers guys are just pushing the other guys down the depth chart.
Yeah, and they threw him under the bus last week. So it's like on top of that, and he missed a few days of practice because of it. Like I'm sure he was like, "Get me out of here! Like I want to trade. This is bullshit." And so like, yeah, I'd be pissed. I'd be like, "Okay, I'll go out there and do it. I'm not going to Hassan Reddick myself, but hey, cool." Oh, and that's another thing. Like that's another hope.
Why
Like
did it take so long to get Hassan Reddick in here?
every week it's something different. Like, oh, okay, we have an interim coach. Okay, we've switched the play caller. Oh, now we have Devontae Adams. Oh, next week we're getting back Hassan Reddick. Like everything for the Jets is like, oh, it's like it's
let's
hope
figure
core.
this. Let's do all this shit in the off season. Why are we doing this on the fly during the season? Like, you're trying to plug holes when this should have been figured out before you even got on the boat.
Yeah, 100%. And I kind of want to speak about did you have anything left on the Jets?
Fuck the Jets. Let's talk about the Steelers because
Yeah, dude, I love
Russell
this.
Wilson,
It was interesting.
Tomlin flexing on people too after the game. Like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Like, man, I love Tomlin.
Yeah, dude, and I know you were hesitant going in the switch from Justin Fields to Russell Wilson. What are your thoughts on it? Because yeah, I know you were a little bit like, should we make this move?
I know. Here's the thing. He did the one thing that Justin Fields couldn't do.
Throw
He
the ball.
said, well, yeah, that. But specifically, he said, I'm just going to throw it up in the vicinity of Pickens. Pickens is one of the most, I'm not saying he's the best, but he's one of the most talented receivers in the league. Just give him a shot. Give him 50-50 balls. He will go up and get them. And that's really what sparked the Steelers and got Russell Wilson into flow, where he's like, fuck it, Pickens, go get it. And if it's incomplete, it's incomplete. Justin Fields, I feel like, was a little conservative, especially with Pickens. He just didn't have that chemistry with Pickens to give him the ball. And I think that's a downfall of Fields where he can't read a defense as well. And he's also not going to take as many chances because he knows, if I throw picks, like this shit's over. Russell Wilson didn't give a fuck. He was like, I'm just going to sling it. I'm going to lob it up super high and then let my athletic receiver jump up there and catch the ball. And that's what really got this offense rolling. And then you get your running back starting to roll. The run offense really got going in this game. There was times where Russell Wilson couldn't get out of the pocket the way Justin Fields could, but I see the vision of Tomlin now that Russell Wilson with his arm gives you more than Justin Fields with his legs.
100%. And I think that moving to Russell Wilson now opens up the entire playbook for the Steelers team. And we're seeing exactly what they can do, what they are possible, like what is actually possible with a viable quarterback. And I'm not saying that Justin Fields is not. And I think it's like the Justin Fields thing is so fucking weird because in college, he was a pocket passer. Like you couldn't say that he wasn't dropping dimes. He was, and they wanted him to be more athletic and like, hey, let's use this a little bit more. In the pros, it's like the complete opposite, where they're like, all right, well, you're an athletic guy. We need to turn you back into a pocket passer. And it's like, what? Like this, that's weird. Like, so I just don't know if he was 100% comfortable. You're right. It seems like he was a little bit more guarded to throw picks. And when you are that guy, you don't make the plays that you need to make because the windows are so short. But George Pickens is the perfect receiver for Russell Wilson. On it, like we know that Russell Wilson just loves the deep shot. He loves the moon ball. Chris Collinsworth was so wet off of that. Oh, moon ball. Oh, yeah. If I heard, like, if you gave me $1 for every time he said moon ball, like, we'd be rich. That is the perfect thing for Russell Wilson. It is the perfect thing for George Pickens because everyone, like 1 or 2 series, they were just like, yeah, whatever, just test it deep. And Pickens loves that. Like, what, always fucking open? Or what did he have on his face the other day?
Yeah,
Like, he
like
fully believes it. And when they were saying, like, okay, when it's a 50-50 ball, it is not a 50-50 ball. More than likely, it's a 75-25 ball. That's how good and athletic George Pickens is. And you're right. It opens up. You then have to move back if you're the safeties because you don't know when they're going to test you. It keeps people out of the box. Whereas when you're running with Fields, everyone could creep a little bit in. Everyone is understanding. They know, like, more than likely it's going to be a run, whether it be with Fields or whether it be with Najee. They're not worried about the middle of the field. And Russell Wilson opens up the middle of the field and down the field.
Yeah, and then the tight ends started to eat because everyone's starting now keying on Pickens, on the receivers a little bit more. And it every level of the Steelers offense started to get unlocked in that game. And then the defense is just a buzz saw. Like that defense, probably the best defense in the league. TJ Watt looking amazing. The corners looking great with Joey Porter. This is a dangerous Steelers team where before I was thinking, all right, this is a Steelers team that just wins games. They get in the playoffs and they lose. If they're playing like this, I think they can compete with most teams in the AFC.
Dude, especially if they get a home field game in the playoffs, they are going to be dangerous. That stadium was rocking. Dude, when they called back that blocked extra point, people were going insane. The special teams coordinator was out there just yelling, going crazy, mother effing the refs. And then they went back and blocked another kick after that. And he was like, I show. And the whole team rallied around him. This is a scary Steelers team because they have belief, because they're like, okay, no one believed. And they could really have a bunch of bulletin board material and say, no one believed in us. And they will rally around each other and be like, okay, let's roll. Russell Wilson is like a number one leader in that because everyone wrote him off saying like, this is bullshit. Another team paid him to leave. Tomlin, everyone was talking about, do the Steelers need to go into another direction? TJ Watt, hey, you're good, but you're never as good as your brother. Like, there's just so much levels to this Steelers team, and I think that they are going to be scary contenders moving forward.
And the thing is, before this season, I was like, I hate this quarterback situation where you have two quarterbacks around the same level. They're not great. But now I love this quarterback situation where I think Russ, if he buys into the system and doesn't want to be a me guy where he's like, I need to throw the touchdowns. Let's run the ball. Let's get short passes every now and then. I'll throw a moon ball. We'll figure it out and win on defense. Him being the veteran like that, leading this team is perfect. And just that's not even saying Justin Fields, I think is still perfect for this team. And he gets to sit and learn and develop more as a quarterback to where I think they're in the great situation. Russ being the veteran who's going to move on eventually. Justin Fields be the successor because he's still young enough where next year, in the next 2 years, maybe even, he is going to be your guy. Because I think he has the talent. He just needs to learn how to be a quarterback. Like he's still in that process. And then in say a year and a half time, 2 years, you have a guy who's played a lot of football as a starting quarterback, a guy who sat and learned, a guy who can run still, and maybe he develops more as a thrower. That's pretty, dangerous combination right there.
I mean, that's the Geno Smith path, realistically.
Yeah.
And we've seen like the success that Geno Smith has had this time around being a starting quarterback with the Seattle Seahawks. He had to go through his journey where he bounced around, where he sat, where he learned, but ultimately he came out on top and he looks good. he looks like a viable starting quarterback in the NFL. And I think that Justin Fields has that same opportunity here sitting behind Russell Wilson.
Well, let's talk about the rival for the Steelers this season. Went crazy. The Baltimore Ravens 41-31 against the Bucks. Started off slow here. Bucks got out to early 10-0 lead, and it was just over from there. Lamar looking like the MVP front runner. Derrick Henry taking off. Just down the sideline, Derrick Henry is disgusting. Zay Flowers got banged up, I believe. They got banged up in the secondary a lot. Is this Ravens team finally the team to put it over the hump and beat the Chiefs and go to the Super Bowl? And is Lamar the MVP right now?
I want to say that nothing that the Ravens do in the regular season affects my opinion on them. I think they're a very solid team. I think they're great, but we know where their pitfalls are, and their pitfalls are they lose in the playoffs. So I don't think there's anything that they could do that makes me be like, oh yeah, like my world is turned upside down. Like everything I thought about the Baltimore Ravens is completely wrong. No, I think they're a really good team, but they lose in the playoffs. And so what's going to change my mind about that is if they win in the playoffs. Like, you know what I mean? So I think that's the next step for this Baltimore Ravens team. I think they have the team to do it, but I've also thought that in past years. So,
and I think the thing that's looking great about them right now is the run pass balance. To where in the playoffs, they try to be like, no, Lamar's a pocket passer. He's going to throw 30 for 35 and win the game. And it's like, guys,
just
let's just be who you are. Run the ball, let Lamar get outside the pocket, let him run. And then now you have Derrick Henry who can carry the load in the second half. If they can stick to that, I think they look like an unbeatable team when they're playing like that. Can their secondary get healthy? Can that defense sustain? We'll see. I think Baker Mayfield is an amazing quarterback who he's definitely shot himself in the foot for a couple, even the Saints game where they're blowing them out. He threw 3 picks in that first half to let the Saints back in it. And that's kind of the Bucks right now. Can they be good with and not make mistakes? Because if they don't limit the mistakes, I think the Bucks are actually in this game. And I was expecting a shootout. And so how much of what was the Baltimore defense that amazing, or was it the Bucks just fell so far behind because of their own mistakes and then they just couldn't get it? So that's, I think, going to be a real big issue for this Ravens defense.
And before we move on from this game, is Derrick Henry the most underrated acquisition from this offseason? Because I was expecting him to fall off. Everyone was like, okay, Derrick Henry, he has a ton of miles on him. He's not going to be the same guy. This is his log. I mean, he started off slow, 46 yards, then 84 yards. Against Dallas, he dropped 151 rushing. Buffalo, he dropped 199. Cincy, he fell off a little bit with only 92. Then he did 130. And then this past week, 169. That's crazy. That is insane.
And he started slow in this game. Like, first half, the commentators was just like, I don't know what's going on there. He's not even on the field. They pulled him off the field for most of that first half. And then the second half, he's just running through people. And the thing is, too, the Dallas Cowboys could have had Derrick Henry, but Jerry Jones didn't want him. And you see what Jerry Jones just said? We're like, yeah, Derrick Henry's having a career year, but he wouldn't have had a career year with us. Which is, you're either saying your team is that bad, or maybe he doesn't. Maybe he just has a solid year. I would take a solid year of Derrick Henry over what you guys are producing at the running back position. It's just the pure incompetence of the Dallas Cowboys right now.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, Derrick Henry did that on 169 yards off 15 attempts. That's insane. This guy. When is he going to slow down? Like, I keep waiting for it, not hoping for a Derrick Henry fall, but like, when is it going to happen? Because I mean, I just seen a thing like, I think last week where he was talking about in high school, how he was getting like 30 carries, 50 carries sometime a game. And they were like, dang, that's insane amount of usage. So he has a ton of miles on him, but he's just built different, dude. that is probably the biggest pickup from this offseason that I could think of.
Yeah, it's insane how big he is and how fast he still is. Like, I just don't see what is the fall off because he's still going to be that big as long as he stays in shape. I think maybe
Yeah.
that's the flaw. It starts to put on some Zion weight, then he's going to slow down. He's just going to be, but then just make him your fullback. Like, that's an insane goal line back right there.
Yeah, but he doesn't even see himself as like a physical back. What he sees himself as is a finesse back. I mean, that's one thing I remembered from like he had an interview with Taylor Lewan and he was like, "Oh, like I'm not a guy, I don't want to run people over. What I want to do is make you miss." And it's like, God damn. And he still has the ability, and he does. He's so quick at that size where he will shake you out of your shoes. But if you come up to him, he will run your ass over.
All right. Well, we got one last game to talk about here. The Chargers lost to the Cardinals in a surprising upset. There is no weapons on this Chargers offense. There is zero. I'm confident saying that. Were we too quick to kind of crown Harbaugh as like the savior of the Chargers and thinking, oh, he's going to the playoffs first year for sure?
I think we pulled the trigger a little bit quick on playoffs for sure, especially in the AFC. But like realistically, there's a lot of AFC teams that haven't lived up to the hype. Um, but I think we were quick to pull the trigger on that. I think that he is setting a foundation to where moving forward, they're going to kind of fit that bill that he wants, where they are going to try to run the rock a little bit more. They're going to try to take things off of Justin Herbert's plate, but they just don't have. I mean, they gave away a lot this offseason as far as the receiving core. They got rid of Keenan Allen. Mike Williams is gone. I think they even lost. Did they lose Palmer as well? So,
I believe he's still there doing
well,
nothing.
he's ass. So,
Yeah.
anyways, he has not stepped up to be their number one. They have Lad McConkey there, who's a good, like, slot receiver, but they just need more. Like, they just need something else. And I think they're going to get it in this draft. But man, it's going to be tough sledding. And I think Harbaugh's fine with that because he knows that he is locked in here for the long haul. And I think he's like, all right, this is going to set the tone for the rest of my coaching tenure here. I'm fine if we struggle, but we are going to play things the way I want to play them.
I'm also honestly a little concerned about what even is this Chargers offense identity with Harbaugh? Because you'd think early in the season, you're like, okay, they're just running the ball, they're playing it safe. They're not going to ask Justin Herbert to do too much. But then you get a game like this. Well, you had games earlier where you're like, they need to throw the ball more. They need to let Herbert let it loose to get in rhythm so they can put some points on the board. And then a game like this where it's super defensive, it's a drag them out game. You're thinking, oh, they probably ran the ball 40 times. There, J.K. Dobbins had 14 carries. Justin Herbert had 39 passes, and they put up
Yeah.
15 points, which is insane. If you look at those two separate stats, you would think that this was a 35-42 game or something. What is going on with this play calling? Yeah, I'm sure they're going to shut down in the run game, but you have to keep at it if you're in this close game and things aren't getting falling on your end in the passing game.
And they were moving the ball up and down the field. They just couldn't get it in the end zone for some reason. And I think those are things that they're going to 100% need to work on. Maybe Greg Roman just isn't the guy. I mean, we've seen him get like established that he has good teams, but then he can't get them over the hump. Here, it just seems like it's not working. Like, let's just go ahead and move on from Greg Roman and let's get someone else in.
And any concern with Justin Herbert, because the thing is, he got crowned so early as like, oh, he's going to be a top 5 quarterback. This motherfucker is like bottom 10 right now in the league. I'm going to say it. He's bottom 10 quarterback in the league, and that's not taking away his talent. That's just what he's put on the field. I don't want to hear about, oh, but he's so talented. He could be top 5. But he's showing us in the production, he's bottom 10.
Yeah, I mean, is he added to the list of like what ifs? Like, oh, if Justin Herbert, if like how they say about Josh Allen. Well, if Josh Allen had blah blah blah. That's the same thing with like Justin Herbert. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they just paid him a shit ton of money, and he's gonna be here he should be in the plans for the long haul. I know there were rumblings this offseason, like, are they gonna trade him? Like, are they gonna go for JJ McCarthy? What's going on here?
So
So
Herbert on PFF, his overall grade is 68.1, 25th out of 60 quarterbacks. His passing grade 69.2, 22nd out of 60 quarterbacks.
all right, that's pretty bad.
So I just want to back it up because I know it sounds crazy to be like, okay, yeah, he's playing as one of the worst quarterbacks, but I don't even know if he's playing bad. Is he getting schemed in the right situation to let him produce more numbers because they've been run heavy and they're not producing touchdowns with the weapons they have. But
And
at
the
the end of
weapons,
the day,
like, the one thing I will defend him on, the weapons he have, they are not up to par, and they are dropping the ball a ton.
yeah,
There's
but
a
if we're
lot
gonna
of drops
if
left
we're
on
gonna
the field.
shit on Trevor Lawrence, if we're gonna shit on Brock Purdy for what they're putting on the field, regardless of their situation, we have to start shitting on Justin Herbert for the stats he's producing on the field, regardless of what he's working with.
That's true. But the thing with that is we have seen a track record of Justin Herbert elevate guys before. We haven't seen that from Trevor Lawrence, and we haven't really seen that from Brock Purdy either. You know what I mean?
He's thrown 6 touchdowns this year. That's it. He's thrown 6. What has Brock Purdy thrown? It better be more than 6.
I know. You just talked all that shit.
Brock Purdy's thrown 9.
Okay.
So
A full
Trevor Lawrence probably
30% more.
That's something. Trevor Lawrence has thrown 9.
Up. That's all, folks.
The stats are backing it up. I don't know. All right. Well, you got anything else?
No, I'm good.
All right. We are all good. We'll see you next time. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like. Make sure you comment how bad Justin Herbert is. Thank you guys. See you next time.
Later.